Welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. My name is Randall Richmond, and I'm the Director of Athletics here at Kent State University and a proud graduate of the NCAA Charles Wickham Leadership Institute. The Leadership Institute helped me refine who I was as a man well before focusing on who I was as an administrator. Within the program, I developed lifelong friendships, colleagues, and confidants to help me discover my true purpose in this profession, which is to be a transformational leader that has a positive impact on people's lives well beyond sports. And as the great orator Big Sean often says, the energy you give is what you manifest. Peace.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 1Q Leadership. Our guest today is Tim Duncan. Tim is currently the athletics director at University of New Orleans. Greetings, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ty. Good to see you, bro.
Now, Duncan, you got a wealth of experience in the industry for roughly 15 years.
Correct.
But 10 of those 15 years, you've been in a leadership position, the athletics director, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Huh?
Payne, Clayton State, now University of New Orleans. Spent some time as a deputy at Northeastern,
Correct.
I believe.
Correct.
I think that's excellent, right? Because there's a number of things you have to accomplish in leadership, number of decisions you have to make, and the decisions could be good or bad, the challenging conversations, the celebrations you have. But now you find yourself at University of New Orleans going into your, I believe, fourth year.
Correct.
University of New Orleans, and you got to build it. You want to get UNO on the landscape of college athletics as a competitive institution. So talk to us a little bit about taking that job and kind of the vision you've laid out and how you're executing that vision.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me, Ty. I appreciate it. But the University of New Orleans is a unique situation, man. When the opportunity came up when I was at Northeastern, I knew it was a job that I wanted.
Right.
Because I'd played for a University of Memphis, that has the name of the city as a university. So there's a lot of power in that. And while in college, we played against the University of New Orleans. It was thriving. They were ranked. They were in the conference, in the NCAA championship regularly. So I thought that we could get back there. And they went through a lot with Katrina and the financial crisis, hit Louisiana extra hard. But there is power in having the name of the city on the chest. So it gives us a chance to have a broader message that residents of the city could follow. And we've done a great job of utilizing that through our NOLA's team effort. And that's what we bill ourselves, and we utilize that in every aspect, from community service to allowing the public to use our facilities and rental groups to just being involved in every way that the city has to offer.
Yeah. What were some of the key aspects of, I guess, the strategic plan you laid out after you were in there and figured out what you could figure out about the school, and then started implementing the Tim Duncan way, I guess,
right.
for university? What were some of the key aspects you put in place?
One was connecting with the city of New Orleans. That was really important. Again, having been at a university, I've worked at Memphis and I played in Memphis, to know how intertwined the city and the university is something that I wanted for us, and we've been working on that. So that's point number 3 on our strategic plan, and we spend most of my time on that. And that's, that's point number 4, I'm sorry. On the strategic plan, we spend most of my time trying to connect with folks in the city, and that's, extremely important.
Right. Well, what are point 1, 2, and 3?
Tell
us about those.
And obviously education is first.
Right.
Having a strong academic base, student-athlete experience, championship culture is number 3. And then increasing revenue generation and fundraising. And then finally, facilities. So we're doing a lot of work in facilities. We broke ground on a brand new beach volleyball facility this summer. Our student athletes are voting on, our students are voting on whether they're going to increase their student fees for football. We're already working on a plan, should that pass, to have a football stadium on our campus. So facility has been a huge part, just because there hadn't been a lot done in that space in a number of years.
I want to touch on a couple of those things in that list that you just gave us, education being one of them.
Right.
Some schools, right, and this may not have been the case at New Orleans, but some schools, athletics is not a part of the academic mission of the university, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to do some convincing around the school to the provost, and sometimes even the president, like, hey, we are part of this whole thing. So tell me about how it was when you came on there in New Orleans, and how it is now 3 years later after you started building things.
The fortunate thing for me is our president was a football student in college. He played at Bucknell. His wife played volleyball there. He's an engineer. He came to the University of New Orleans as a provost and had a national search after a short time there to be the president. So that was what he was looking for. He wants athletics to be strong, and so I'm on his executive cabinet, and all of those are in sync. So from the CFO to the provost, it starts with him, and we're all on the same page when it comes to athletics having an importance and the relevance it plays to help build the university back up.
Yeah, which is excellent. And then the community outreach, which you said was point number 4.
Yeah,
it's crazy because you had to put that somewhere because that could be right up there with number 1, in between 1 and 2 somewhere, right?
It could for sure.
Community outreach is something that, especially in the city of New Orleans, right,
Yeah.
which has a culture of its own.
It does.
And your school, that's right there in New Orleans, and so you want to make sure you understand that our culture is your culture, and we are all New Orleans.
Right.
I wonder about that aspect from the university standpoint before you arrived. Was it truly ingratiated there?
Yeah.
Or is athletics leading the way in terms of the community engagement with the city? Or tell me about that aspect as you've executed bullet point number 4 on
Yeah,
the strategic plan.
it's interesting, man. So University of New Orleans was started in 1958 as the first integrated university in the South.
Okay.
So, but it still has an interesting history, just like the rest of our country. So, although it started integrating, African Americans didn't progress through; they didn't matriculate to graduation. So, a lot of the old timers call University of New Orleans the University of Negro Oppression.
Wow.
That's what UNO means. So, there are some strong feelings about that. So, my hire, when the president hired me as an African American leader in athletics, it started to change people's perceptions. And now he's hired multiple, people of color in leadership positions. So people are starting to understand there's something different about the city, about the university. So that part has been, and I'm an external guy by nature. So I'm out everywhere. So he wanted to have a face because he's externally focused as well. He wanted to have a face, an African American leader who can be in places with him to have both sides represented of all time. And I think so far it's working really well.
That's excellent. I mean, it's always disappointing that it takes to 2022, 2019,
Right.
2021 to get it
Right.
done. But you know what? If it's getting done, it's getting done, right?
Yeah. It's been a while, but people have been receptive, so far to the change, and they're trying to let go of some of the baggage that was rightfully earned by the university.
Right. Talk to us about the culture of the city of New Orleans.
Yeah, it is interesting, man. A lot of people said it's the northernmost Caribbean city, and it feels like it at times. It's a majority city, so I identify with that, having lived in Houston and Atlanta and Memphis, obviously. So we want our student athlete population and our student population to reflect that of the city.
Right.
So I think that's one thing that New Orleans does is export its culture. People know that, has different food, kind of different language and different way of doing things. So we embrace that wholeheartedly and try to ingratiate ourselves. My marketing guy, Matt Thompson, was just out in the city doing pictures and videos of the cities that we can utilize in our marketing for the fall. So we want to, always identify really closely with that culture.
How do you do it? How do you engage? Like, what is the process of? Well, you talk about a university that has a history, right?
Yeah.
And then was supposed to be the first integrated university.
Right.
The people didn't graduate.
Right.
So then the community is probably like, they don't care about us. They're doing their thing.
Yeah.
And so now things are changing. And so now you got to get the people outside to believe that.
Right.
So tell me about the community engagement with the student athletes and with the staff and coaches, and what exactly you guys doing in the community.
Community service.
Yeah.
I mean, we through Helper in 2019-20, we led the country in community service hours. So our philosophy is we give back to the city, feed the homeless, work with special need kids, in all the many endeavors that our teams and student athletes do, because if we're giving to them, then they'll get a chance to meet a student athlete, and that's a personal interaction, and they'll want to see that student athlete be successful. So it gives them a chance to impress them to come to see them perform. So that's how we do it. We do it through strictly giving back to the city, and we think that the city will show us their love and give it back
Embrace
too.
it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're talking athletics, college athletics. A whole lot of athletes that come out of there down there in New Orleans, right?
Right. It is, man. It's a pro city. It's high school sports are huge. It's a pro city, so it's tough to fight through that clutter. But I think the strategy that we have of just connecting and giving back is slow, but it's steady. And we think that's how we're going to win.
Yeah. Tell me about, obviously, I'm always going to veer towards leadership when we're on this podcast, right? You hired your new deputy down there.
Kim Gallo.
Yeah.
No. So Dina was the first. Dina
Nina?
and Steve Stroud were my two deputies.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Dina left. She's on her second AD job now. Steve is still there. He's over revenue generation. And then I hired Kim Gallo. She's our associate AD for facilities and capital planning.
Yeah.
But now she's the SWA. So Kim is awesome. She's a Louisiana native. She was working at Xavier of New Orleans, Xavier of Louisiana, and I hired her from there. She's Dina's mentee. So, and I'd known her too. So she's younger. So she brings a closer connection to the student athletes and does well in that space. And so she's a great piece to our team to complement what we already have.
When you talk about, I guess she made it easy because she already understood the culture down there.
Absolutely,
right?
She did.
And of course, you brought Dina in from California.
Right. Yeah.
You talk about hiring people in and helping them learn the culture where you are. Even when you did it at Clayton State or Kane, tell me about your process of getting people to understand, A, the culture of the department, B, the culture of the school, and then specifically in a place like New Orleans, the culture of the city, which is very significant.
Yeah, we bring professionals, man. We try to scour, near and far to bring the most professional people that can come to the position and bring something to the table. And, when we talk about them coming, it's a part of it's on you're on all the time. So it's ingratiating yourself with the campus community, because we're not a silo by any means, and then being a part of the university community. So I expect them to go to whatever different groups they want. So like Kim, she works with the Chamber of Commerce. They have a women's group. She does stuff there. She does Jefferson Parish Chamber, and we have several other people that we put with different groups. So they can make that connection. They are responsible for doing that. So I think it allows them to be a part of the community, but they know coming in that that's the expectation.
Yeah, which is interesting. So, like you mentioned, there's a lot of competition for dollars where you are in the state, where you are in the country, really. The aspect of fundraising, right, as an AD, hiring coaches, fundraising, creating a culture, and actually being visible for the university and the university's constituency. Tell me about that aspect of the challenges and the celebrations that you've been able to do, the wins you've already been able to accomplish in terms of bringing in revenue, bringing in funds, and those types of things at University of New Orleans.
Yeah, it's a slow but steady process. We had to come in and create the foundation, which is an annual fund. They really hadn't done annual fund the way we have. They didn't have really a list for major donors, so we had to do that. But it's paying off now in year 3, and it's not public yet, but we have a transformational gift that is we signed a gift agreement. We just haven't announced it. That will be the largest gift in the history of the school, and amongst the largest in the state. So we're really excited about that, and that will help, I think, propel us, because we can support all of our current programs, and then we have some other initiatives that will allow people to know that University of New Orleans is a serious place for athletics and academics, and we want to be able to compete on a high level, and these two gifts will be able to do that for us.
Yeah, when you do something like that at a school, right, and this is not just University of New Orleans, but at any school, especially when you're in athletics and you do something significant like that, is there I guess, walk me through this, right?
Yeah.
Because I think what's coming out of my mind is like, I'm fundraising for athletics, but at some point, the people on campus realize that fundraising for athletics is fundraising for the university, and we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
So is there an aspect of helping the university raise funds for university things in addition to athletics?
Absolutely. So there's a sponsor that we signed with, a few months ago. And in the conversation, the gentleman said something about a relationship they had in a different location here in New Orleans, actually. Here in Las Vegas, actually, with the university here. So I heard that and went to talk to my president about it. And then he got the dean involved. So now we had a meeting just the other day with them talking about the university as well. So I think it's just part of listening to what works for them, because at the end of the day, if they have, because I owned a small business before, I always try to listen to what they want to accomplish in their objectives. And so when he said a key phrase in the conversation, I thought, okay, we need to hook them up with the hotel, restaurant, and tourism major. And that's what we did. And now they have a chance that's going to have a gift way larger than ours. But it's okay, because we all win.
We all win.
So our school is very unique in that way. There are no turf battles with the institutional advancement. They know that any gift to the university through athletics or whatever goes on their resume just like it does ours. So at the end of the day, it's about helping the school elevate. And I think as a good partner, then it's my duty to help, listen, pay attention, and then see how we can, help the donor reach their goals or help the sponsor reach their goals, even if it means other departments.
Is that no competition between advancement and athletics, and is that something you look for when you're interviewing a potential place for you to become the athletic director?
Yeah, and I think everyone says that that's the way it is, but it hadn't been that way anywhere I've been like it is here.
Right.
It's a true partnership. At Clayton State, it was close. We were a lot smaller, but here it's a true partnership, man. They go out of their way to introduce donors to athletics that may have an interest if they're donating on something else, and we do the same. So it's the best partnership that I've seen in the 6 institutions that I've worked at.
Yeah, which is excellent. I'll ask you a couple more questions, then we'll wrap. One specifically about the program you used to put on at Clayton State, the program for people in sports administration.
Emerging AD.
Emerging AD.
Yeah.
It's not going on anymore, right? Am I right about that?
No, it's not.
Right.
It's not.
But it's something that people valued, right? I wonder what are your thoughts on that as you try your best to get New Orleans where you want it to go.
Right.
I mean, is that something that
I'd love to, man. I get asked about it all the time. I've been asked about it 3 times
quality professional
since I've been here,
right?
man. So. I want to do. I hadn't been able to manage my schedule as much in Division I as I was able to do at Clayton State. But since it's such a need and people keep calling and asking me about it, that I got to figure out how to get it done. I do, because I mean, Stan Johnson and Moa just asked me a few minutes. Dee Merritt, the NCAA, just asked me. So there is a need for some professional development that is smaller and a little bit more scalable and personal for people entering the industry. And it was over-indexed with women and minorities, which is a passion for me to see thrive in this area. So we got to I'll figure out a way to kind of bring that back.
Just keep it on your mind. It's not mandatory. No pressure to do anything you don't want to do, especially if you got a big project you're working on in terms of being an athletics director at a school in the middle of New Orleans. Well, Tim, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ty. I love the work, man. I love listening to you. Keep teaching us all about these leadership traits.
Yes, sir. Look, as long as you have your afro, I'm going to have my afro.
Let's do it, brother.
We'll keep it going, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
That was Tim Duncan. He is the Director of Athletics at University of New Orleans. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.